Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Talking to an artist on Facebook, and he was shocked to find out I had written over 80 books in the last 20 years. And that's something that I learned to do way back when I was a teenager, when I was aspiring to become a comic book writer. Now, as everyone knows, a long time ago, in a ghetto far, far away in the South Bronx, I aspired to become a comic book writer. And in order to become a comic book writer, you have to be able to get books to editorial so that they can be put together very quickly over the course of a calendar year, because in a calendar year, a writer usually has to write anywhere from 9 to 13 issues as they're working on a run, and you have to be able to get your stories to editorial so that they can be reviewed and then handed over to the artist, and this has to be done in a very rapid fashion. And in order to be able to deal with the rigors of comic book writing, I basically trained myself to be able to write content very quickly, and trained myself to be able to write content very quickly so that I could be able to get material out in a very quick fashion. And as I honed my skills as related to working on novels, this is what enabled me to be able to learn how to be able to write a entire 50 to 150,000 word novel in less than 6 months. And in many cases, I can go out here and not only write a 50 to 150,000 word novel in less than 6 months, I can also go out here and write nonfiction books in about 90 days, and I can go out here and write smaller books like the books in the ISIS series, the Esteem series, and the John Haynes series. I can usually write those books in about 30 days, and that's all due to the training that I gave myself as I looked to learn how to become a comic book writer. Now, along the way on my journey to aspiring to become a comic book writer, I basically picked up some techniques to be able to learn how to write material a lot faster from two books that I have taught me the craft of writing. One was a book given to me by my sister, Sid Field Screenplay, which taught me about how screenwriters tell stories, and another one is a book that was recommended to me by a best-selling author friend of mine, who I don't know if she's still alive today. She recommended I pick up Robert McKee's story, and as I went out here and read those two books, I picked up techniques from screenwriting that enabled me to be able to write prose very quickly in a way that allows me to tell a story with a limited economy of words, where you basically are being able to create pictures in people's minds. You're able to create pictures in people's minds in a very rapid fashion with a limited amount of words. And these techniques are those that help me to be able to learn how to write material in a very rapid fashion and be able to write material in a rapid fashion, because again, in the world of comics and the world of entertainment, a screenwriter has to be able to get material out very quickly, and as they're getting material out very quickly, they have to be open to getting material revised and getting material revised very quickly, because every day there are changes to a script with the pink pages when you're working on films. When you're working on films, the shooting script and many times changes because you have suggestions from the producer, you get suggestions from the director, you get suggestions from actors, and you have to be able to put all that together in the revised pink pages. That's all part of the process of writing a screenplay. And again, in order to be able to work on that type of set, you have to be able to be able to adapt your material very quickly, and that's all part of the skills that I have developed over the last 20 years as a writer, and that's one of the reasons I can go out here and write material very quickly and get material to the marketplace every year as related to the SJS Direct catalog. Now, when it comes to the SJS Direct catalog, one of the reasons why I publish so many books in a calendar year is, one, I was publishing a lot of books in order to show employers that I was going out here putting in work in building the SJS Direct imprint, and two, I wanted to have a tangible record for employers to look at. If I was going out, when I go out here and look for work, I wanted people to see that there was a consistent timeline with the SJS Direct imprint from 2009 all the way to now, that there was consistently books being published from 2009 all the way to 2024 and 2025 at this point. I mean, this is why I was out here publishing all of those books, starting with All About Maryland in 2009, and continuing on with The Temptation of John Haynes in 2011, and All About Nikki the Fabulous first season, a book I basically, again, wrote in less than about 3 to 4 months. I wrote about 13 episodes of a entire TV sitcom in script format, and had that book all together, basically writing episodes in less than in 2 or 3 nights. And from there, from 2011 to 2012, started up the ISIS series, and basically was looking to write 4 books a year with that series. And in 2013, I wrote over 13 books in 1 calendar year, because the ebook craze was going on, and I was capitalizing on the ebook craze. And from there, continuing to write lots of books year after year to show that I was consistently producing work. That was one of the reasons why I would consistently produce work, because at that time I was looking for work, and I wanted to show employers that I could be a professional who could be consistent. Moreover, I wanted to show many people as related to business that I am consistent as related to being able to get material out quickly, because when people see a consistent track record, they know that that writer is reliable. They know that that writer is producing work can produce work very quickly and in a consistent fashion year after year. And the other thing was, I wanted to go out here and continue building SJS Direct's business because of the entire issues as related to the publishing industry. Now, when it comes to running a publishing business, you just can't have one book out here. You just can't have one book, because in the publishing marketplace, 90% of books fail, and with 90% of books failing, you need the 10% of books that sell in order to cover the cost of the 90. And I felt that I could again mitigate the losses on certain books in a calendar year by publishing more books. So what I do is, in order to get the sales as related to this business, because publishing is a sales business, I go out here and publish more than one book, and publish more than one book because I want to be able to cover the losses on a book. If one book doesn't sell, the other book will cover the losses. That was the usual game plan as related to the publishing business. And that's one of the main reasons why I publish so many books in a calendar year, because sometimes you'll have a book that you, again, will go out here and think will do well, but then sadly people won't pick it up. And then sometimes you'll have a book that you think will do garbage numbers, but will go out here and sell very strongly. And that's what happens all the time as related to the publishing business, and it happens here at SJS Direct. I mean, I remember certain books that I published out here, like in 2014, I published ISIS Wrath of the Cyber Goddess. I thought that book was gonna do well, but sadly, that book really didn't sell very well. And when I originally published Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, that book didn't really sell pretty well in the beginning. However, other books that I have published over the course of time, like in 2018, I remember publishing the first John Haynes series book, John Haynes, A Conversation with Death. And I thought that book was not going to make any sales, but that book turned out to be a huge hit. And other books that I've come out here and published, I thought were not going to do well. Again, like the esteemed No Good Deed story, thought that story wasn't going to do well, but it turned out to get over 3,000 downloads. And the book, The Cassandra Cookbook, when I first made it, it didn't do well, but when I retitled it A Recipe for Success, it sold over 1,000 copies. And then there are books that I published that I just thought weren't going to be hits, and like the Thetas turned out to sell over 1,000 copies over the course of 2013, and was a shock to me as related to things. And it just sometimes it just happens like that. And in order to again be able to make sure that the odds are in the favor of me as related to being a publisher, I'll go out here and again write 3-4 books a year in order to be able to go out here and see what will sell. So that's one of the things I do in order to why I write so many books. I write a lot of books because that's how you get the sales. And again, sometimes you'll have a book that you think is again gonna do great, but it won't really sell. And sometimes you'll just have a really lean year, like I had starting in 2022 to about right now, where it's just been a really slow period for sales. And it just happens like that. Sometimes you can go out here and put together really great material, and sadly people just don't really notice it, or sometimes customers, they think that it's always going to be there, so they kind of start taking material for granted. It happens in the business all the time. Sometimes you'll have, again, material that's really solid, and people won't notice it because they go, oh, because I've had this happen again with people. Will say, oh, he's always making books, but sometimes it just happens like that. But I have to keep, as I see it, you have to keep producing material. I have to keep producing material again in order to be able to get the sales. That's all part of the business, and that's how I got on the road to writing over 80 books over the last 15 to 16 years, because I started out with my screenplay book, All About Marilyn. Then as I went to MySpace and I started blogging, my best-selling author friends saw the blogs and said, you know, this would make a good book. And this is what got me into doing nonfiction. And as I got into nonfiction, I started looking to do books like the Simp series and books like that. And those books started to build an audience. And it led to me doing books why 70% of black women are single and The Man Crisis. And as I continued on, I just kept doing different books to appeal to different audiences and looking to, again, further expand the SJS Direct imprint, looking to get more sales. That's what I have been doing, and that's why I write so many books over time. I write so many books over time because of the just nature of the publishing business, and I write a lot of books in order to, again, show my skills and my craft as a writer, because I can write in multiple styles of writing. I can write fiction like I do with novels like The Recipe for Success, The Temptation of John Haynes, and I write in different genres. I can write women's fiction like A Recipe for Success, or the book or YA fiction like Spellbound, or write romances like Spinsterella, or I can write genre fiction like the supernatural fantasy like The Temptation of John Haynes, or horror like Eternal Night, or YA fiction like the Isis and Esteem and John Haynes series. And I can also go out here and write non-fiction like the Simp series books, and books like The Man Crisis and The Woman Crisis. And I can also write screenplays like All About Marilyn, or TV shows like All About Nikki. And I can even write comic books like Esteem No Good Deed and John Haynes at Death's Door. And this is from all the self-training I've given myself, learning the craft of writing, and that's what I want to showcase with my work. That's what I showcase with my work on Amazon with all the books that I publish. I show a variety of skills as a novelist, a screenwriter, and a nonfiction writer, and that's what I showcase with writing all these books. And this is what I want to make my calling card as a creator. It's supposed to be my calling card to people to see my professional background as a writer. And as a publisher, I learned all about publishing from reading different blogs like Writer Beware, former blogs like Miss Snark, and other blogs like that are out here, like Jim Shooter's blog, which taught me a lot about the publishing process. And I read a lot of different websites and I did a lot of research on hand about the publishing business, so I know about things about making a book cost out, which is what I'm trying to do right now with Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, which is a book that is going to be 617 pages as related to the story, and will have, again, the pictures in it as related to the light novel, as related to things. I found a way to get the pictures back into it. So it's a lot of work, again, to be a publisher, and you have to make those books cost out as related to dealing with things like the print cost and making it an affordable list price for anybody to pick up. It's a lot of work that goes into writing and publishing these books, and I have to have a lot of books out here, again, to show people that I'm a serious professional, and I am a guy who's, again, passionate about writing, but I want people to see my professionalism as related to my work. Now, I know that sometimes a book may have a typo here or there, but I'm just one man, again, looking to, again, who's editing these books overnight and putting in that work on these books. So it's a lot of work that goes into it, and again, not many writers out here can write one book, let alone 80. That's what my Facebook friend had told me, that, it's hard, again, just some people want to write a book for their lifetime, but I go out here and I write because of my mission. I wanted to create positive stories about the Black experience, and I wanted to give people a richer picture, a more diverse picture of Black life in stories that I couldn't do with other trade publishers. And I wanted to go out here and be able to tell different stories and show my, again, techniques as related to writing. And again, I learned a lot of different techniques about writing and publishing. I learned a lot to the point where I basically have learned as much as you would learn at Columbia University's publishing course. Now, Columbia University has a publishing course that's supposed to be on the level of a master's degree, and I basically learned all this stuff on my own, just reading websites and doing research and working on working with different softwares like Adobe Acrobat, which is what I use to create my books. And I also use things like Adobe Photoshop to create my covers after I get the art from the artist. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into things. And again, I put in that work because I wanted to build a career as a writer, and I wanted originally to do comics, but I couldn't do comics because the industry is a mess. But I continue on, and again, persevering, because that's what God wants me to do, and because He told me to keep going after I lost my job in 2008, where when I was working, I was still working on building up and looking to publish just the 3 manuscripts I had written at the time. I had written the Cassandra Cookbook back in 2004, almost got that published by a trade publisher, almost got that picked up by agents. Then I wrote The Temptation of John Haynes in 2005, and then I wrote All About Marilyn in 2007. So I had those 3 manuscripts sitting in boxes, and I wanted to get them out. So that's where I started looking to, again, publish my own stuff. I mean, I worked with a POD publisher back in 2008, but Maryland had unique formatting, so I started going and finding out how to print my own books. That's when I was working with Lightning Source. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a job to be able to maintain that part of the business, so I took my business over to Amazon. And as I took my business over to Amazon, started doing ebooks. That's when my best-selling author friend, I helped her get her books to the market, helped my friend Lawrence Cherry get his books to the market, and again, started writing a lot more books, to build my audience and build the brand of the SJS Direct Imprint, and started to build it because, again, you just can't have one book on the marketplace. You have to have lots of books in order to show how serious you are and show that you have a craft of writing and know what you're doing as a craftsperson. That's what I try to do as related to these 80 books and trying to build the brand of the SJS Direct Imprint. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Trying to build it and trying to get the business out of a bit of a sales slump that it's been in for a while, trying to get the sales numbers up. That's what I'm trying to do right now, is I'm trying to regroup and trying to take the business in a new direction as related to getting the sales up, reaching the customer, because that's what you have to do. You have to adapt as related to business. But the reason why I wrote so many books is because I know how this business is. I know that this is a rough business. I know that you have to keep having new product out, or people will forget who you are, especially if your books go out of print. People will forget who you are, forget the material that you're making. So you have to keep fresh material out there. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to write so many books, and why you're going to get 3 books this year, possibly, as related to things. I mean, I've had to pull back because of issues with anxiety and other and mental health issues. And that's the reason why you're getting 3 books this year. You're getting John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side, Esteem, Season of the Witch Girl, and Smithsterella Goth Girl Summer. I wanted to have an ISIS book available this year, but sadly I couldn't come up with any ideas. And maybe we might have one in the fall, but I'm just trying to get myself together. So I'm still trying to work things out. And I'm still trying to go out here and honor God by continuing to persevere, because He told me to keep going. And I'm hoping that I can go in a direction where I can receive His blessings and basically get more people to notice the SJS Direct Imprint and all the books on it. Now, if you want to check out any of the 80 plus books on the SJS Direct Imprint, you can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to help me be able to keep publishing books on the SJS Direct Imprint and help me to be able to put together things as related to paying artists for covers and paying for interior art, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to submit some fan art for any of the SJS Direct Universe characters, you can drop an email to sjsdirectamerica@gmail.com. And if you make some fan art, I will put it in the back of the upcoming SJS Direct books. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem, Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge, paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.